Welcome to this session on logic models, theory of change, and program evaluation. The takeaway points for this session are to define the 6 basic parts of a logic model, understand the connections between research methods, program evaluation, and logic models, describe the 5 questions to answer when defining the situation a program is designed to solve, identify the 3 things logic models are used for, and define theory of change. This is a basic logic model. It includes 6 parts. The situation, which is a description of the problem that the program is designed to solve. Inputs, which are concrete resources that are invested in the program, such as funding, staff, or office space. Outputs, which include things like activities or services that are delivered by the program and the participation in these services by clients. Outcomes, which include short-term, intermediate, and long-term outcomes. External factors, which are circumstances in the environment that influence the program, but over which the program has little control. And assumptions, which are conditions or resources that are needed for the success of the program. Once a program has a logic model, a program evaluation can be used to help us understand how the program is being implemented and the outcomes that are being achieved. The term program evaluation refers to a variety of research methods that are used to document and measure a program's outputs and outcomes. Logic models are used in 3 ways. In program design and planning, a logic model is used to guide the process of creating a new program. In this capacity, logic models help demonstrate how and why a program might work and can be used to illustrate this to potential funders or other key stakeholders. In the program design and planning stage, logic models are also linked to program evaluation plans that describe how the outputs and the outcomes will be documented and measured. In program implementation, logic models are used to guide the management and monitoring of outputs and outcomes. When used in this capacity, a program is already taking place, and a logic model is used to help manage and monitor how it is being implemented and the outcomes that are being achieved. During this stage, a logic model may be revised or adapted to respond to changing circumstances or to new information that is learned during program implementation. In program evaluation and strategic reporting, logic models are used to communicate program success to stakeholders. In this capacity, logic models illustrate the outcomes of a program to key stakeholders and serve as a tool to advocate for program expansion or continuation. Let's look at an example. The first step in creating a logic model is to define the situation that the program is designed to solve. 5 questions can help guide this process. What is the problem? What causes the problem? Who is affected by this problem? Who cares about whether or not this problem is solved? And what does existing research and experience tell us about how to solve this problem? When logic models are used in the program design and planning stages, a community needs assessment usually helps to guide the process of defining the situation. A needs assessment uses research methods and data to inform program planners about things like who the target population is, the extent of the problem, the location, key stakeholders, and existing research and experience. The situation that I'm defining for this example begins with the problem of parents being reported to the child welfare system for suspected child abuse or neglect. This problem may be caused because some parents do not have the knowledge, skills, and support they need in order to be effective parents. Demographic information on the people who are experiencing this problem indicates that 50% are Latino parents, 30% are Caucasian, 15% are Asian, and 5% are from other racial and ethnic groups. The average age of children in these families is 7 years, and 20% of families have Spanish as their primary language. Key stakeholders are defined as people or organizations that have an investment in solving the problem through the program's activities. In this example, the stakeholders include the public child welfare system, who receives the reports of child maltreatment. These professionals are responsible for referring families who are eligible for services to the parent training classes. Other key stakeholders are professionals in the community agencies who provide the parent training services to the parents, the funders who help provide the money necessary to deliver the program, and the families who participate in the services. Existing research and experience suggests that positive parenting programs, such as Triple P, can provide parents with knowledge and skills to be effective parents. In addition, the use of ongoing community resources helps parents to continue being effective parents after their participation in parent training has ended. Now that we have a definition of the situation, we want to ask the question, what would happen if this problem no longer existed? This is the long-term outcome of the program, or the ultimate impact the program wants to have on a macro level. If our problem is parents being reported to the child welfare system for child abuse, then if this problem no longer existed, parents would consistently parent safely, and children would be free from abuse or neglect. These are the long-term outcomes in this logic model. Next, we can identify the intermediate outcomes. These are the outcomes that need to happen in order for the long-term outcomes to occur. Intermediate outcomes reflect changes in behavior, skills, or abilities. For example, in this logic model, if long-term outcomes are achieved, then parents need to first be using positive parenting behaviors and accessing community resources for ongoing support. Next, we can identify the short-term outcomes. These are the outcomes that need to happen in order for the intermediate outcomes to occur. Short-term outcomes reflect changes in knowledge, feelings, attitudes, perceptions, and understanding. These changes are considered to happen before changes in behaviors, skills, or abilities. So in this logic model, if parents are using positive parenting behaviors and they're accessing community resources, then they must first have knowledge about positive parenting and also knowledge about how to access community resources. I just used a backward mapping process to define these three types of outcomes. I started with the situation I want to solve and then identified the long-term outcomes and worked backwards to define the other outcomes in the model. You can also use a forward mapping process to define the three types of outcomes. Either process is fine to use as long as the logical relationships between the categories are clear. To create clearly stated logical relationships between categories, you can use if-then statements. Using a forward mapping logic, the if-then statements for this logic model are: if parents increase their knowledge about positive parenting and about community resources, then parents will use positive parenting behaviors and access community resources for ongoing support. If parents are using positive parenting and community resources, then they will consistently parent safely and children will be free from abuse and neglect. The outputs in the logic model are the services being delivered and the participation of clients. In this example, the program will deliver an 8-week positive parenting class, and parents who have been reported to the child welfare system will attend these classes. So if the agency provides this service and parents involved in the child welfare system attend, then we can expect the short-term, intermediate, and long-term outcomes to occur. The inputs are the resources needed for the program to operate. In this example, the program needs funding, a positive parenting curriculum, training for staff, a convenient location for the parents, and a referral system for parents to enter the program. External factors are larger circumstances that are likely to affect the program, but over which the program has little control. These factors could be resources or barriers and can help promote or limit program success. For example, the demographic characteristics of the parents who are referred to the program represent an external factor. If the program has classes in English and Spanish, but parents who speak only Vietnamese begin to be referred, then the program will need to respond to this change. Other examples of external factors might be changes in the larger economy or social welfare policies that affect parents or the program. Assumptions are conditions or resources that are needed for the success of the program. For this program to be successful, it will need continued funding, an effective referral system, continued availability of staff, an effective positive parenting curriculum, and also a fundamental assumption of this program is that unsafe parenting is caused, at least in part, by a lack of knowledge, skills, and access to ongoing community resources. Hopefully, if I have defined the situation accurately, then there is some evidence to support the assumption that a positive parenting class and information about community resources will lead to effective parenting. That was step number 5 in defining the situation. A theory of change describes how and why a program is expected to achieve its stated outcomes. Throughout the process of creating this logic model, I've developed a series of if-then statements that describe the logical connections between the inputs, outputs, and outcomes. Taken together, these statements of logical connections between the concepts in the logic model are the theory of change. For example, if we assume, hopefully with some level of evidence, that unsafe parenting is caused by a lack of knowledge, skills, and resources, then when parents are reported to the child welfare system for child abuse, if we provide them with education and access to resources, then this will help solve the problem. At this point, it's good to bring up an important concept about logic models and the idea of causation. A logic model is assuming that there are causal connections between the parts of the model. That's the if-then statements in the theory of change. For example, we are assuming that when parents learn new information, that they will then translate that information into changes in their own behaviors. In the real world, we know that programs have a partial influence on outcomes. In social work, there is rarely one cause for any outcome because there are so many different circumstances that can occur in all of the systems that are influencing someone's life. However, even though logic models are a simplified version of what actually occurs in reality, it's important to remember that all programs have a theory of change, whether it's stated or not. In every human service program, we are making assumptions about why programs are supposed to make things better for our clients. Even though a logic model is not reality, it is a very useful tool because it creates a shared understanding of how and why a program is expected to work. And it creates a framework to guide program evaluation. As a reminder, the takeaway points for this session are to define the 6 basic parts of a logic model, understand the connections between research methods, program evaluation, and logic models, describe the 5 questions to answer when defining the situation a program is designed to solve, identify 3 things logic models are used for, and define theory of change.